the great war with the dragons has ended. The four kingdoms nearly doomed to draconic extinction until 13 legends arose in that our most desperate hour and became the vanguard of the dragon's downfall. The heroes of the Great War. The first of their kind in this world, a band of heroes blessed with a new and extremely rare ability, magic. That power brought peace back to the world, and now the world expected the heroes to keep it. But it is not dragons that the heroes now face. It is politicians, kings, and diplomats. While some monsters remain, what the Four Kingdoms truly need now is stability and treaties of peace. And so, the heroes created the Knights of Nemeria, a cohort of elite apprentices recruited after the war's end. Each blessed with special abilities and who will, when the time is right, become the next generation of heroes. But for now, they are tasked with the less demanding quests. And so, our story begins as four young heroes meet in the city of Daramid to solve an impossible mystery. You smell coffee in the morning. You hear the early morning birds outside. You hear the creaking of the wood beneath your feet. You feel the early morning cold. And as you open your eyes, the camera sees a door. Just a door in a typical inn. And there's something black sprayed up on the door. And we hear a coming from the other side of the door. And we hear, "Let's do!" We hear no response. Again, "Let's do! If you don't open this door right now and get us this rent, then I'm gonna... It's been 2 weeks now! Open the damn door!" And there's no response. And we hear some grumbling coming from the other side of the door, and you hear a key going into a lock, and the door unlocks, and it opens, and you see a woman standing there who is holding a basket of something, and she looks into the room, her eyes go wide, she goes, and she's about to scream, and then we cut to somewhere else. A scene somewhere else, perhaps in the city of Daramid, where this story is taking place. And we first start off with a half-orc. And Caleb, could you please describe your character? What are we seeing right now?
We're looking at Dull Ozon, and he is a 6'5", big ol' half-orc. He's handsome and well-coiffed, but not lacking the more wild features of his clan. He definitely looks half-orc in nature with this pale gray-green skin. He wears a silver cap chain on his left tusk that connects to an earring on his left ear. He wears his facial hair sort of in that Wolverine style where the stubble just sort of extends past down to the chin, but cut close to the skin and kept it very neat. He wears his hair just past his ears with many little braids running through, and there's sort of a jewel tipped. There are little loops he's put them through. He wears a fur-rimmed doublet with a matching cloak and this big old fur collar that extends out. Almost looks like elk fur. It bristles out. It looks harder than most fine furs you'd wear. He wears leather armor over this green and brown doublet he wears. He's very well put together, formal, but in a way that says he wouldn't hesitate to take you out if he needed to. He carries a ceremonial broadsword at his side, whose hilt is trimmed in the same fur his collar is. And if his wrist becomes exposed, there's a tattoo on his right wrist that is of a spider with a human skull for a thorax, in a very traditional style. Think like the old depictions of medieval animals when they didn't know what cats looked like, so they were big fucking terrible beasts. Think that right there on his right wrist, all in black ink along his gray-green skin. He looks well in stature. He holds himself with poise and pride, and it radiates a sort of confidence that is overwhelming. He walks into every room as though he knows exactly why he's supposed to be there, and everyone else should agree. Dull is down by the docks of Jeremy, sort of the lower levels, I think, because this is along this great big river that he's been spending time on, and he's been in the city for a long time, and he's sort of become accustomed with the culture. And so he has been tracking someone related to his work that he has been essentially tailing for 2 months along this dock, and watching him sort of weave through the crowds as Dull is maybe, 60, 90 feet back, watching through as this morning, dock patrol starts to move throughout the area. There's crowds of people going out to fish and going off on their boats for the day, and there are town guard and merchants, and the seedier crowd hangs out by the docks. And so Dull is just sort of, he's not very conspicuous, but or inconspicuous, but he tries to move himself through the crowd without drawing attention to the man he's clearly following.
So we see Dole, this half-orc, moving through the crowd. People are walking by like, bread here, fresh fish. A lot of busy morning dock things are happening. And I would say, how do you catch this person?
So I think that this is someone he needs to have a very stern conversation with. And so I think that he sweeps through the crowd as subtly as he can until he's going to attempt just to appear at the man's shoulder. He's taking a book out of his uncle's playbook, or a page out of his uncle's playbook. He's just trying to put a firm hand on his shoulder. And if he successfully sneaks up to this man, he's going to point out to an alleyway just off the curb of the docks between two merchants' buildings that already looks very nice and covert. And I think just the sight of that would tell this man exactly what he's in for.
I would say maybe it's like a lizard folk or something like that.
Okay.
And he's just like, he's talking to someone. He's like, so then I need to think it done pretty quick. And then that he feels the hand, and he's like, looks over, and he's like, shit.
Good morning, Amon. I believe you owe me some information, don't you?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, well, maybe a good morning walk will revitalize your memory, don't you think?
Maybe we should. And he tries to like juke and run away from you. Okay. Give me some sort of roll to try to like catch him or stop him, something like that.
I'm gonna go with my acrobatics here. I'm gonna try and roll through and catch him by the ankle there. 22.
All right, he got a 12. So what does this look like when you trip up this person?
So I think that Dull was being very cordial with him in the beginning. It was a very nice way to say, I can do this away from prying eyes, away from people you do business with, or I could do this. And this is this sort of forward roll into it, and then he snatches his ankle and pulls Amon through. And I think Amon sort of collides with the ground right in front of him. And Dull just keeps him there by the ankle, and then kind of peeks his head down to meet his face there on the ground. Amon, I thought that I was very mannerful in my discussion with you. Don't you agree?
Very polite.
Well, I pride myself on that. It's a good compliment. Thank you very much. Now, we're going to have this conversation whether you enjoy it or not. So, would you like to act like a civilized person, or would you like me to show you what happens next?
Fine. Just let go of my ankle.
Of course. And I drop him.
He stands up. He has like a nice sort of doublet, and just kind of brushes it off. And just kind of like, he's like, after you.
Dull is waiting on some VIPs to arrive in the city that will signify to Dull that the job is going to start. So I think that Amon is just the latest in a long string of people that Dull is hoping will give him what he's looking for.
Yeah, so basically, Amon, the information you get from Amon is that basically, like, it's happening soon. Like, it's pretty much, like, happening today. And, well, I guess once you get that information, you hear a voice from the alleyway, and he's like, well, I guess you've, improved a little bit since last time I saw you.
Uncle, what have we talked about? Talking to each other face to face.
You see Vigo Tormont, which is a basically he's one of the heroes of the Great War, and he is a tiefling, a gray tiefling, and he has like little short horns you can't quite see under his hood. He's very much classic rogue, a thief look about him. And he's just sort of like standing in the shadows of this alleyway. And I would say the lizard folk guy just kind of like runs off after that. Yeah, he's standing there smirking at you.
You could have just came to me face to face. I mean, we're trying to make you a little bit personable in this city. You're a hero of great old age, my friend. You need to become the politician, right?
He noticeably cringes at that. He's like, that's not really what I'm here for.
I know. You're here for rooftops and shadows and the blade in the dark. I know. That has always been your interpretation. And I respect you for it. But did you hear what that man just said?
I did. I'm actually here to offer you a job. A job you might be pretty interested in. Perhaps one that might get you out of your mother's shadow.
You're kidding, right? It's starting? It's happening?
Yes. So, if you're interested, it could be nothing, but important things are happening in the city. You know that the Northern Kingdom, Tomorgain, the one a little bit to the south, Edoras, ever since the war has ended, they've been fighting over land. And the heroes, not necessarily me, but the other heroes have been working hard to ensure a peace treaty. And that's going to happen here in 3 days. But I'm sure you've heard there's been strange disappearances happening in the city.
Yes. I've been looking into them for close to a year, preparing for this moment right here. I'm not any closer than I was when I started, though.
Most of the disappearances are not that strange. You know, most disappearances people don't really look into, but these happen in locked doors, bars, people sleeping next to others. They wake up, people are gone, doors locked shut. Strange.
Yes.
We need to make sure, well, this job needs to make sure that whatever this is, it doesn't affect the peace treaty.
Right.
We signed. So, if this goes well, you could get a lot of attention of some very important people, which could go far with what you're trying to do.
It could. You're absolutely right in that direction, Vigo.
So, what do you say?
Of course. I would be a fool not to. Is it just the two of us, like usual?
You'll be working with a couple more people. You ever heard of the Knights of Nemeria? They're pretty new.
What, the pet project of the heroes?
It's the next generation of heroes.
So they say.
You'll be working with some very skilled people. First, you've got Vetra. And then we cut over to somewhere else. Carrie, what do we see where Vetra is, and what are they doing? Could you please describe them, what they are doing at this moment?
Yeah, you see a human woman with honey blonde hair pulled back in various braids, a very, Nordic Viking style hairdo. A few strands are hanging in her face, and there is a sort of T marking on her face, half of her forehead and down one eye, in a sort of blue paint of some sort. It might be a tattoo, but it definitely looks like paint. You see a headband of gold tucked into her hair, sort of Wonder Woman style on her forehead. And her clothing very, very like Viking themed as well. There are some furs, mostly leathers. Hints of the blue kind of to match that T on her face. And her eyes have been closed as the camera is like slowly moving away from her face, and they've been closed until you see someone move into view from behind her. Some sort of enemy to her. His sword is drawn. Her eyes open at his movements and his laughter, and you hear her say, "You've made a terrible mistake."
The only mistake here is you, honey. And it sort of raises his sword.
And in one like swift motion, she turns and she swings her sword to parry his attempt. And with her shield, she swings down and bashes into his kneecap. And you kind of like hear a snap of his bones as he falls down onto one knee. And then with one swing again, you just see blood spatter onto the dirt at their feet. And she says, "Don't underestimate my intelligence."
You damn woman. On the ground, just reeling. You broke my damn knee. God. Do you just like walk away from this person?
I think so, yeah.
Nice. Where are you? Is this like out in the wilderness, or is this like in the town or something?
This is like he led me out here saying someone needed help, and really he was leading me out here to rob me or something.
Awesome.
And yeah, he did not, in fact, rob me.
You see the bandit laying on the ground, being like, "Oh, what the hell are the boys at?" And then you hear the dropping of weapons off on the side of the road, and out walking from the side of the road is not the bandits. It is Vigo, your mentor, basically from the Knights of Nemeria, hero that you've known for at least a year or so. That's kind of trained. He's kind of like the liaison of the Knights of Nemeria to like doing quests and doing jobs, because all of the other heroes that are magic or who have a magical abilities kind of are like, I am doing too many important things. I can't really handle these Knights of Nemeria apprentice people. So Vigo, the only non-magic hero, has been allocated to do that. And you see him coming out of the forest, sheathing a blade. He's like, "Well, I guess you've gotten faster then."
One could say.
Good. Did you notice the two in the bushes?
I did. Did you notice they're not attacking?
I did. And he just kind of smiles as he kind of looks over at his shoulder. "I've got a next assignment. It's could be big, and it might be something that you're interested in."
What is it?
Basically, there's been some disappearances.
I'm in. Is it just us two, or?
You actually might know a couple of the other people. I think you've worked together before. And then we cut over to Sarah.
We see a rather muscular woman. They are about 5'6" or so, and clad from head to toe in this absolutely stunningly taken care of armor. But it's not made of plate, it's not made of metal. It is pulled together from the scales of the dragons who were defeated during the war, or at the very least driven off. It's a tough situation. And her hair is kind of pulled up into a very practical, messy brown bun. And her eyes are very sharply looking at her surroundings, scanning for components. We find her in the middle of a very busy bazaar, in the middle of a marketplace. There are people selling spices. There are people selling all kinds of food. We see fabric. We see blacksmiths, other people going about their trade. And Winnie is buying small bits of things. She's asking the person working the forge for a handful of ash and then throwing it in her bucket. She's asking some of the spice sellers for some components or things that she's actually never seen before from parts of the world that she's never even heard of.
Say and from the cash over in the side of the aisles. You want some of these? A little bit. You can get about 1 gold coin per pound. You want some of these?
1 gold coin sounds good. You're your newest and strangest.
What was that?
Your newest and your strangest, please.
Yes, the good stock. I will get to it right away. And all these people are getting to you a bunch of very strange-looking things. Like there's like weird eyes and stuff, and like clippings from like animals and weird feathers and all this kind of junk. And they're just like passing it over to you.
And as Winnie's kind of collecting this bucket, she just kind of has this kind of, her hackles kind of raise, and she smells smoke on the air. And when she turns her attention to a part of the market, we see that some of the tents, some of the carts are starting to just kind of burst into flames. It's hard to know exactly what happened or what it originated from, but there's lots of sources of unprotected flame. Maybe a kid knocked it over, maybe a spark was strayed. And just with a heavy sigh, I do not have time for this right now.
People are screaming. They're like, oh my God, fire! I gotta get the bucket brigade! Someone get water for the well! Oh God, it's getting my shop!
Yeah. And she just very slowly and carefully puts down her basket of components because it's been a long day collecting these. And with short, confident steps, this woman walks forward, extends a hand towards the flame. And in this moment, all of the moisture just sucks out of the air. You would think you were in the most arid desert. And this kind of... And in this kind of moment between all of the air, all of the water just kind of being sucked out, we then see it pool together, and from Winnie, this enormous wave, this crush of water generates out of her and just sweeps over the flames and rains down on them, quenching all of that fire.
And as the fire sizzles out and the little kind of like lines of smoke as you put out the fire, people are just like stopping and they look over and they're like, he's a hero. He's not a hero. They were able to do magic. Did you see that?
I actually think it was that kid. It's fine.
Give me a deception.
I will give you a 6.
Okay. Oh. And they're like, oh, so modest as well.
That's even worse.
Like a kid like next to you kind of like looks up. He's like, "Do you think I could be a hero like you someday?"
I don't know. Train really hard and trash. Sure, here's some gold. I'm getting out of here.
This will feed me for a week. And the kid like clicks his heels and kind of like runs off. And
that's so sad. All right, I really have to get out of here.
You start to walking away, and I would say like as you're going somewhere from an alleyway, you hear, "Always the hero." And you see Vigo, your mentor and quote-unquote friend from the Knights of Nemeria, hanging out in an alleyway, arms crossed, looking over at you.
Oh, thank God. Someone who doesn't gush and piss themselves every time they see magic. It's good to see you.
Yeah, it is. If I were to do that, I'd probably be dead. wouldn't be like one of the other heroes.
You never change, Vigo. What's the job? You only ever show up when there's something to do.
Well, as astute as ever. Yeah, the job... It's difficult. And perhaps with all of this going around, you might actually be able to get access to more knowledge that you're looking for. One of Tom's towers is in the city, and if you're helping out, then they can actually get quite a bit of access to his many volumes and spells, if that's what you're interested in.
Yeah, no, that's that is certainly a thing I'd be interested in.
A lot of people might be impressed.
I mean, if it would shut my sword up for like a whole ass month, I'd love that. But
all right.
It's the chance to get any of these kingdoms to work together and stop squabbling, I'll take it. I don't care how hard it is.
All right. Well. Meet sounds good. We'll all be meeting at a place in Daramede. We'll be meeting at the Rusty Bell in Tavern, noon today. Don't be late. And then we cut to our last character and VG. What do we see? Where is this character at, and what are they doing?
We find Theophania or Theo on a windswept moor somewhere near a very large wood. And you get the feeling that this was perhaps an old battlefield from the war not long ago. And you see as Theo is strolling along the field, she's very windswept. It's very windy on this day. Her hair is kind of loose. And you can even see that half of her hair is black. Half of it is very, very stark white. Her clothing is also very dark, and she just looks not quite put together. Her hands and her robes are all covered in dirt, like she's been digging in the ground. Her eyes are very, very pale, like gray almost to the point of being white. And she herself is quite pale as well. The only real thing of note that she's carrying is this large leather bag that she has tied to her belt. And she never lets it out of her sight. And she even kind of like rests her hand upon it, almost like you would the hilt of a sword. And she's just kind of like wiping the sweat and the dirt from her brow and turning around, because I imagine she's followed by her mentor, a stooped older dwarf woman who I imagine is just kind of like chattering away, kind of like loudly, as Theo tries very hard to not be distracted and to kind of keep her eyes on the battlefield.
I would say, yeah, you see this older dwarf woman just kind of going through, fiddling through a battlefield stuff. There's like swords everywhere and like helms, and she's like, well, this one seems pretty good. Well, I don't think I know that one. Any over there, Theo?
Not many swords that I can see, and no bones either. No robes, nothing's speaking to me.
Well, it's all in all due time. Things will come to you. We must feel where the spirits are calling us. And I feel that this spirit might be calling to me. And she pulls up a little flask and boom, opens it and drinks some spirits of her own. Ooh, that's the spot. And puts the flask back at her side. And she's like, don't worry, it'll come. And she just keeps wandering through this battlefield. Is there something specific that you were looking for or trying to do?
I think I'm trying to see if... So I imagine we've already spent quite a few hours out here. So I think at this point, Theo realizes maybe they've kind of found more or less what they're going to, and so Theo just kind of like stands up a little bit straighter and tries to like rub the dirt off of her hands onto her robes and says, "Anyone there? If you are, now's your chance to speak to me. Please."
And as you say that, you listen and you hear like the wind start to pick up and like the whistling of the wind going through like a broken helmet, and it starts to sound like a little bit of a whistle, and you hear like a good to see you. And you see that you hear Vigo standing near you instead of the spirits talking to you. He's like, not exactly you were expecting, right?
No, I thought you were a ghost for a second.
Not yet.
I'm sorry, but I think we found all that we're going to today. I don't hear any more whispering, except if I heard you whispering, but I don't think there's anyone else waiting to be found here. Are you disappointed?
He kind of looks, he's like, furrows his brow, and he's like, no, I never really pretended to understand what you all were doing out here, but it's what you do in your own time, I don't really care. But I'm here to, we got a job. And we can use your... He kind of looks down at the bag that you have at your side. Special abilities with something like this.
Well, I'm always happy to help, but you know as well as I do that I don't have the most control over what my friends whisper to me.
That's all right. I think we'll be able to figure something out. And he tells you about the disappearances and the things that are happening in the city that's nearby. And he's like, when he's finished telling you all that, he's like, and maybe when this is all over and the peace is settled, I had an idea that perhaps taking a trip to where I first found you might be able to jog some of your memories.
Theo blushes and says, yeah, I'd really like that, Vigo. I'm happy to help.
You can see that he kind of doesn't understand why you've blushed, but he's like, yeah, well, good. And he just kind of is like, well, he just kind of turns around and like starts to walk away, and then he stops and he turns back. He's like, are you coming?
Oh, yeah, I have to grab Vorley, otherwise she's just gonna stand on the field and drink. Vorley, come on.
And as you say that, the scene cuts away, and the next thing that we see is the city of Daramid. The camera is like looking down, bird's eye view on the city, which is basically, it's almost like an island in the middle of a really, really big river, kind of like Mississippi style. And it's like this island in the middle of it, and there's like there's bridges that from the north and the southern side of this river that meet the big island in the middle. And it's a big trading city. There's lots of like boats going up and down this river, and stopping at the city of Daramid. And we see on the northern and southern side, as the camera's zooming in into the city, we see that there's like two armies on the southern side and then one on the northern side, just like waiting with all of their tents and everything and all their little banners and whatnot. And then we cut to a scene in the Vine district, and we see a sign that says the Rusty Bell Inn and Tavern. It's a little sign that's kind of like squeakingly hanging outside of the door, and the camera's like backing up, and you see more of the tavern, and then it goes back farther, and you see there's a circle of guards standing guard around this tavern, and they're like, no admittance, blah, blah, like trying to push people back, and they go farther, and there's like a bunch of folks, peasants standing around with like banners and like flags and things. They look really excited for some reason, and it keeps going back farther and farther, and then there's this crazy old man holding the sign. He's like, the world's about to end! And it goes back farther and farther, and the camera turns around, and we see our 4 heroes standing in the street, about to approach the Rusty Bell Inn and Tavern, the place where Vigo said to meet at noon, which is very soon. And Dole, you have descriptions of all of these other folks, but I think all of the rest of these people already know each other. So you are all congregating at this street at once.
Vetra, Theo. You know what? It's good to see y'all.
Are we supposed to wait in line, or?
Nah, we just walk in.
Can I sit with you?
Of course.
Of course.
Vetra, arm wrestle after we have our first drink?
Of course.
Excellent. All right.
And then I just like get my shield, and I'm just kind of using that as like all right, out of the way, everybody move, and just to try to make I think this is it. So I'm just like pushing towards the Rusty Bell Inn.
Awesome. What is everyone else doing?
I think I'm behind them and just sort of watching and listening to them before I've even met them. You have that like weird, I'm the stranger in the new group sort of priority there, where he is like, I might as well hear as much as I can before I actually have to introduce myself. So sticking to the back.
Okay.
Theo is trundling along after the others, a little bit like the kid with the big kids, like not really sure like what to do or who to talk to, just kind of pleasantly surprised to be included. Though I do think Theo would be kind of paying attention to what Duel is doing, since he's the new fella.
Winnie sort of following behind Vetra, who's clearing the way with her shield. Winnie eventually finds her way to the bar, where she orders a round of drinks, specifically ordering 4.
Cool. There's like basically the haven't gone inside of the tavern yet, but there is like because there's these big old bunch of people and then guards blocking people from getting even like within the perimeter of the tavern. But yeah, so you guys are making your way through there. Vetra, give me some sort of roll to push these people out of the way. There is like this old man is like, the world's ending, you gotta see the signs, You see, the Dragon War was just the beginning, and I see it all in your eyes, and I can see you, man.
So I wanted to roll intimidation because I have a really high bonus to that, but I rolled a natural 20.
Ah!
That would be a 24.
Damn. Okay, so what do you do to make all of these people get out of the way? You can also hear that these fans, you hear that these are like fans of someone. All of these peasants that are around, they're just like, I don't see him. Where is he? He's like, I don't know. He's like, I've read all of his books. I just can't believe that Lockwood. I was like, I just want him. Like, he's taken my soul and put it into the book. I don't understand how he does it. And they're just like talking back and forth about apparently an author of some sort that they're not seeing. And what do you do to get through this crowd?
Yeah, I think like struggling through a little bit. Finally, Vetra just gets so annoyed and she says, out of my way. And as she turns, her eyes have like glazed over in a sense. Mm-hmm. And there's sort of like this smoke just kind of like billowing out from the eyes for a moment. And she kind of blinks and it goes away. And taking that couple moments of quiet push through again to get a little further in.
Amazing. The smoke comes out and people like turn to look at Veteran like, oh God. And they're just kind of like moving away, and some people are like, this is just like in the second book. And then the guards that are looking at you, that are blocking the way, kind of like stop, and they're like, oh, Captain? And he's kind of like talking over his shoulder, and you see the guards are parting their way as well, and you see a captain approaching. And can I get a couple of details about this captain? They look very well put together, like a little bit by the books type of a person.
They're wearing a non-regulation feather in their cap. So it's like a little piece of flair.
I think they have a very smooth voice, very calm.
I think they're older in station.
I think they're an elf. I think they're an older elf.
Okay. So this elven captain walks up, and has the little regulation or non-regulation feather in their cap, a little bit older. A basic 700s probably not too old. And they're walking up, and they're like, "And who are you?" They're looking at the lot of you, I guess, that are following behind Vetra.
Well, we're not here for Lockwood, so you can stop worrying about that.
I don't know why everyone keeps talking about that man.
Are his books even any good?
I haven't read them. And you all are?
Here for business, and we need to go inside.
Yes, I get that, but who are you?
We're here with Vigo. And I'll speak up from the back.
He kind of looks over the Vetra and Chandler's shoulder, and is like, right. Oh, so you are all Knights of Nemeria then, right?
Oh, not all of us. Most of us.
You can tell that he doesn't look very happy at that. He's like, all right, you can head on in, I guess. And he's like, just don't touch anything. And he just kind of glares at you all, if you decide to keep going.
Yeah, I full glare as I'm walking by him as well, like full eye contact, and then just go through and hold the door open for my companions.
Winnie ignores him, deciding that she doesn't have time for them now that we're past. And this is when she'll go to the bar and order that round of drinks.
Awesome. So yeah, everyone enters into the Rusty Bell, and I would say the first thing that you see when you get in there that is like pretty much completely empty except for two people. There seems to be an older woman, like barkeep, that is standing there, and is like and someone else that is in like very large, big armor, that is taking a tankard of ale from them. They're like, yes, well, very interesting. And it sort of turns around and sees Winnie first, and you know that this is Sir Davith Vikander, which is actually someone that two people know. And Sir Davith sees you first, Winnie, and he's like, Chandler, Sir Chandler. Been a while, friend. And sort of sticks out his ungauntleted hand to shake yours in a very manly style.
Winnie returns the handshake with this long-suffering sigh. I guess Vigo wasn't available.
Vigo's gonna be here? Son of a bitch. He just kind of looks off and he's like, no, I was just stationed outside of the city if I'm coming to see what all the hubbub's about, eh?
So you're not here for any... Are you here to do a job, or are you just here to poke around?
I'm just... Well, I brought my Griffin battalion to make sure that both sides keep the peace while all of this is happening. But
He's on vacation. Great.
honestly, I'm just a bit bored at the moment, fighting and whatnot. I've been missing your shields you've been putting up in combat. It would have been very helpful. You see that he has a new eye patch on his eye, where his eye used to be. So he has a new eye patch on, which I guess I could put on. And he's a very big human, beard, a big bushy beard, very big guy, very Viking-like, shaved head, and he has like gauntlets that are like tied to like a belt at his side, and he's going along and he's talking to you, and he stops talking for a moment and he looks over at Vetra and he's like, Vetra, little Vivi,
Don't.
the mountain, what are you doing here?
No. None
What-
of
Thank
that.
God it's not just me.
I didn't get a missive from your mother. Did you know you were coming to visit? What are you doing in Daremaid?
I walk over and I grab the drink that was ordered for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I just start drinking. Eye contact, just blatantly not answering any questions.
Well, good to see you. I'm assuming. Where do you? Because everyone besides obviously Dull has like a Knights of Nemeria. You have like a little symbol somewhere. That's like, this is the thing that means I'm a Knight of Nemeria. Where is your symbol, Vetra?
I think Vetra's would be a tattoo. I think.
Do you think it's visible?
I think so. I think it's on the neck.
So Sir Davith Vikander, your father, looks at the tattoo that you have on your neck, and he's like, Knights of Nemeria? Well, congratulations.
Not noble. Not noble enough for you. That didn't seem like a very sincere congratulations.
Oh no, I didn't know. It's been a little while since you've seen your daughter, and Vetra, a word, and he just kind of like gestures over towards like the other side of the bar.
Fine. Stomp over there. No, not really.
Dad. So you go over there, and he kind of leans in, and he's like, this sort of, this isn't exactly something for Little Mountain. It's more for a quill or a small saber, a thimble. Don't you think your skills could be more utilized somewhere else? This whole in the city disappearances thing. Is this really what you think you'll be best at?
I'm sorry. What would you suggest?
It's
Because it seems like every time I do something, it's wrong, regardless of what it is. So yeah, I think this is best.
Right. Yeah, you're right.
What are you even doing here? Like, for real, what are you doing here?
Well, I'm here to keep the peace, the Griffin Battalion, and
Oh, well, you're really good at that.
good luck. And he just kind of turns around, and sort of like walks over to the other folks, and he's like, good to see you, Chandler, and rest of you. I'll be outside. And he just sort of stomps his way, kind of turns sideways to get out of the door. He's a very big guy. He's one of the heroes of the Great War, the Paladin hero. And as he's sort of stepping around the corner, you see in one of the shadows, you see Vigo is standing there. And he's just like, good, he's gone. And he just kind of comes up and yeah, kind of sort of like gives you all a nod. He's like, thanks for coming. The next step is something's happened here. The disappearances have been happening for a little while, but the only evidence we have is upstairs. And he sort of like looks up the stairs. You know what? It might be better if you see it for yourself. He just sighs. Davith are going to be protecting some of the VIPs in the days leading up to the treaty. So, your job to go in and figure out what's going on, and we'll protect the VIPs.
Uncle, you don't think that these two things are connected, do you? The peace treaties and these murders? Missing persons?
They might not be. But if they are, it'd be best to figure out what it is and stop it before anything happens. When people go missing from locked rooms and behind locked doors, it's concerning, to say the least. So, we'll do our job. If you need help, we'll be waiting outside. But when you figure out what you need to do, your next moves, come and talk to us, and then be on our way. Me and Davith.
Yeah, good luck with that.
It'll be good for you, Uncle. We'll give you a chance to socialize.
He's a fucking idiot. And he just sort of like stomps his way, or not stomps his way because he's very light-footed. He just walks out. Walks out of the door.
Cheers to that. Davith is your father?
How the fuck do you know him?
You know what? Shortly after, during the war, kind of during the last couple years, I was kind of at his side on the battlefield.
Oh.
Kind of. But if it makes you feel any better, he still doesn't know my first name.
Yeah, that tracks.
Yeah, it does.
Must be difficult living in the shadow of a
So what's
great
upstairs?
hero like that. Right. I guess we could go upstairs, although I think Winnie bought us drinks, did you not?
Yeah, we can take him to go. And Winnie will stand up, holding the drink, not even kind of acknowledging the barkeep, and kind of look up towards the stairs. Might as well get started, I guess.
Sure. We're truly getting to know each other. Take his drink, he'll start moving for the stairs himself.
I would say the barkeep, the old woman, is like, oh yeah, I can show you up the stairs to where it all happened. Right this way. Leads you upstairs and to a door that is open. It seems to be like on the second floor, and this door stands open, and she just sort of gestures into the room. What you see on the inside, immediately there is a dead body on the floor. There seems to be some sort of cuts across it. They sort of bled out. There is 2 beds in the room, 1 small window. The bed on the right is broken. The bed on the left seemed to have been it's not broken. There's a little dresser. There seems to be some black substance on the floor, and that is what you just generally see as you come into this room.
Well, all right. No time like the present. And Winnie will kind of gesture with her glass, kind of asking someone to take it.
I'll take it.
I can hold your drinks downstairs if you like.
You're fine.
Okay.
And Winnie will kneel down at the body and begin to look over it for wounds and is trying to assess kind of what actually killed this person.
Okay. So Winnie is looking at the body. What is everyone else doing right now? There's a lot of things. Pretty much this is a crime scene going on right now. There's like probably people to talk to, things to look at, places to explore. What is everyone doing?
I would like to investigate like the windows to the room or any other possible like ceiling, floor, any other possible exits or entrances in the room itself besides the door.
I think that Dull is definitely trying to ask questions of the woman that came up with them because he's assuming she's the one that knows the most.
Okay.
So that's my plan.
Theo is going to kind of look around the room, look for anything amiss, but if you're actually paying attention to her, you see that she's very kind of locked onto the body, just kind of just kind of eyeing it every now and again, eyes kind of like darting to it, just keeping an eye on it, making sure it doesn't go anywhere before she's got a chance to do her thing.
Okay. Awesome. So everyone just give me, I guess, the roll for whatever it is that you are doing. And I guess for Theo, maybe just like your passive perception or something, unless you are actively doing something until you get to the body. Awesome.
20 for medicine.
Okay, cool.
I got a 20 for investigation.
Got a 16.
Dirty
shit.
I have a 24 for persuasion if I need to persuade.
Okay, so everyone's winning here. So
the
first,
game is over. Show us who did it, damn it.
It was me. So first, we'll start with Winnie Chandler. So you're looking at the body.
So Winnie is kind of peeling back layers of clothes very respectfully, but this is clearly something that she has done before. Mm-hmm. And she is just kind of working through, kind of touching pieces of the body, trying to see, is there bruising? Are there cuts? Are they puncture wounds? What kind of things might have caused various wounds the body might have? And as she's going kind of down the body, kind of starting at the head and then working down to the toes, she's actually just kind of saying out loud what she's thinking, but also finding on the body so that anyone who's listening would have that information as well.
Awesome. You work your way down and then you go to stop at the neck chest area because there is a bunch of slashes there. And these don't look like a sword or a weapon. This looks like something that was caused by claws, very large claws. And you also find as you're working down, this is definitely what killed them. There's a lot of blood next to them. It seems to be blood loss from that injury. And as you go farther down, you do see at one of their hands, there seems to be a spray of this black stuff on their hand, the similar black stuff that is on the floor in the center of the room. And you can tell that it doesn't look like normal humanoid style blood, but this must be a different type or something else's blood. And there's a little bit of flecks on their hand. We go over to Vetra. Vetra, you were looking for any other like entrances or exits and stuff. And you're looking over the window. The window is pretty small, and it's pretty dusty. It looks like it has not been opened in a long time. And you're going around, maybe like feeling the floorboards or like the walls, like looking up, under and around things. And There doesn't seem to be any weird secret entrances or anything like that. It's just the door. And there's no like broken hinges or scrapes or anything like that. You do see that the black substance in the middle of the room, it did seem to have dragged or went underneath the door, and there's a little bit of that black substance under the door, and there might be a little bit of a trail that leads outside of the door. And Theo, what exactly were you doing?
I wanted to spend the time, if you think it's been like approximately a minute, to try and channel the dead through my dagger.
Okay. You did roll something before that, though, correct?
Yes, yeah. That was a 16.
Okay. I'll say as you're getting ready to for Winnie to leave the body, so you can do your stuff, you do see that this broken bed, there is some like ash and like kind of on the bed, and then it's like broken in the middle. And you can see that there's also something looks like a little bit red, translucent, sticky maybe, that's in the center of the bed, like it might have fallen through or something like that. There's some sort of weird goop there. And you also see on the you're just kind of like picking these things up as you're looking around. On the nightstand in the center between the two beds, there is a key sitting there. So you see those things, and then we move to Dull. Dull, you see that the old woman is standing there. She introduces herself as Mrs. Mullmeyer, and she's like, "Is there anything you'd like to know?"
Was this person the only one staying in the room at the time?
No. There was two. There was the man on the floor there. That's Cuthbert Cornhole. And
I'm sorry, Cuthbert Cornhole? Is that what you just said to me?
Yes, Cuthbert Cornhole.
That is an unfortunate name. Bless him.
Why?
Just say it out loud.
Cuthbert Cornhole?
Yes, say it again.
Cuthbert Cornhole. I'm not getting
unfortunate. And he's dead now.
Well,
Who
yeah,
was the other?
yes, he's dead. And the other one. Well, there's a strange thing. His name is Pete. He's gone. You see, everyone calls him Pete the Drunk. But he
The trunk.
drunk.
The drunk.
He's it's all he's really good for. Is just he's drinking up the money. He owed me a lot of money, for staying here as long as he did. But like a normal night, I helped him back up to his damn room, and they locked it. I knew they were both there, but I came in the morning, and to get my rent, I opened the door, unlocked it, and I found this. I think Pete might be missing, or something happened. I don't know, but there was only Pete was staying in there, and Cuthbert.
Pete and Cuthbert, what were their relationship? Are they close? Lovers? Friends?
No, I think it's just our cheapest room that they kept renting.
I see that. Poor.
I think she looks over at the dead bodies. An older man. Like, I think he was retired for something. Cuthbert, Pete. I don't really know much about him. He's just a drunk.
And how long have they been staying here, ma'am?
Well, Pete has been here for about a year, and Cuthbert a couple of months, I would think.
You said Cuthbert was retired from something? Retired from what?
He never quite said. But he just said that he retired. I'm not quite sure, honestly.
Can I look and see at that sound if there are any weapons in the room? Like, did Cuthbert carry a weapon?
I think that would be... Yeah, I would say that in, like, the nightstand in, like, one of the drawers with your earlier check, you open, like, the bottom drawer. And I would say there's, like, what would it be? No, yeah, let's say it's like kind of like a little ceremonial looking dagger, but not like weird ritual sort of dagger, as in like he used to serve as as like a guard in Daramede. So it looks like he might have been a retired guard.
Well, I believe that's all I had. Anyone else in the room, any questions for Mrs. Mulmeyer before I send her away?
Not for Mrs. Mulmeyer.
Perfection. Mrs. Mulmeyer, this is our room now. You can go back downstairs. We'll have no one come in or out unless it's ourselves. You can do this, yes?
I can tell him.
Beautiful. Thank you, my love. Goodbye.
Okay.
I'm going to shut the door.
Yeah, and you shut the door.
Oh, thank God you're willing to deal with people like that. Here, I'll take my drink back. Thanks. Winnie stands up and takes a few steps back from the body and gestures towards it. Something came in with claws. I have no idea what it was, but I mean, something at least as big as you or me, maybe even a little bit bigger, judging by the size of the slashes and the penetration of the marks. But something real nasty happened here. That's honestly about as much as I get. He might not have. He died from the blood, just falling out of him. It's probably pretty slow, but it is what it is.
I've
Theo,
heard that's
you're
how
up.
many people die, the blood falling out of them.
Yeah, it's a shame.
Oh,
Blood.
my turn.
All you?
Okay. Two things. The first is I'm sorry in advance. This is going to be a little unpleasant. And the second thing, can everybody turn around? It's hard to perform under pressure.
I'm sorry, I'm new to the Knights. What exactly is happening here? Is this some sort of... Did Vigo teach you all this? What are you talking about?
Oh, you're going to love it. Just do what she asked.
Yeah,
I don't know. Vigo didn't teach me this part. I don't know how I know it. I just turn around.
By all
Please.
means.
Okay, it's gonna take me a minute. I just need to do some breathing exercises. It's gonna be okay. Okay. And Theo will take out her dagger, and she's going to channel the dead and stab the dead body with it.
Theo, even though everyone is turned around, what does the camera see?
So the camera sees Theo kind of like half kneeling on the dead corpse, like just below its chest, and taking the dagger and like very carefully, like she's not trying to make a mess, but like very carefully kind of like using those cuts that are already there to try and get a little bit closer to some of the bones that are in the body. And after that minute is passed, and I'm sure everybody can kind of like hear the noises as she's doing this.
I do think Dull peaks a little. I don't know if that
you see her just
changes.
sticking a dagger in the body.
Winnie taps him on the shoulder when he starts to turn around, and we see that she's actually pulled a small mirror out of her robe.
Dull will
and
definitely
holds it.
stand right next to Winnie and try and get the full view of it then.
Yeah, so I just kind of slash away at the bones for about a minute, but eventually you see some kind of... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Do you start to do you say something or something? I would say it's going to reach a point where something's going to happen.
Okay.
But does do you say some stuff? Is there like a...
Oh, yeah.
You stab here, or like you mumbling? Like what is
Yeah,
this?
no, I'm like whispering.
Okay.
And I think I have, one hand on the dagger, one hand on the bag at my waist. And I'm just kind of whispering, just talking very quietly to myself, and you can't really make out the words that I'm saying. It doesn't even sound like it's common that I'm speaking. As I'm kind of like rooting through the remains of this person, and I'm my like muttering is getting like louder and louder as time passes.
And as you are muttering, you feel the little bag, like you're whispering for a while, and then you feel the little bag start to like jostle a little bit. You hear the little bit of a clacking coming from the bones, and then you hear like and then like the whispers kind of go, and then to the camera, your eyes turn black, and you see you are in a very different place right now. You are standing on a battlefield that seems to extend on to the horizon forever. There is this gray sky. Everything is monotone gray colored. There is an eclipse in the sky right now. And you see there's just armor, bones, bodies, swords, banisters that are ripped and old, going off forever in this forever battlefield. And you see standing like very far away in the distance, it seems to be like almost like a mountain or something of these collected bodies, armor, banisters, something like that. And it's like very tall, whatever it is, off in the distance, maybe like miles. And for some reason you don't know, because you've never you've probably experienced this before, but you know that whatever this space is, you have to be very careful that tower doesn't notice you. And you feel a little bit of a tug or something, because you're trying to find this person, and your vision, it's like your feet are moving without your knowledge, and you're kind of pulled across this battlefield to a spot, and you see someone wandering. They're dressed like a guard, and they're sort of wandering the battlefield, and they look a bit confused, and then they see you. And what do?
I'm not here to hurt you anymore. I have a couple of questions so that we can help you.
And I would say you grab him, and you sort of like are both flung back into your body. And you are back in the space. You can see things around you, but you feel like you're not alone in your own skin. And you hear this other voice, and everyone else hears this other voice. Where am I? What's happening?
I brought you back. It's not permanent. We don't have long. But if you want us to know, to help figure out how this happened, I just have a couple of questions. I know this must be scary. I do it all the time, but it's still really scary for me.
It hurts.
Do you know what sort of creature did this to you?
Yes, I remember. I was sleeping. It was coming from underneath the door. I woke up, and I thought it was a fire, and I heard cracking, the popping of wood, and I looked, and it was horrifying. It was coming from underneath the door. It was like squeezing through underneath the door, the limbs popping and bones breaking and unbreaking. It had teeth, a long head, no eyes, giant mouth, these fang needle-like teeth. It was horrible.
Who would want to hurt you?
Me? I don't. No one. I worked for a long time. And as a guard, but I never hurt anyone. I don't think anyone would. but then it came towards me, and I grabbed the first thing I could find, and I hit it, and then its hand, and everything went cold. And you feel the connection starting to pull away from you. And he's like, I need to go back. And he slips away, and you feel that you are alone in your body again. Can you just roll me a d20 real quick?
13.
Okay. And the body sort of rests inert as you have finished asking these questions.
I step away from the body and kind of straighten myself and say, oh, okay, everybody can turn around now. And you just see her holding like a little like finger bone, or actually she's holding a rib in her hand. And she says, I need to clean it, but he won't be forgotten. It came from under the door. For him, he doesn't know who would have sent it. But whatever it was, it wasn't normal. He said he could hear its bones shifting and breaking as it came under the door. And Theo will put the bone into the bag at her waist.
Well done.
That was remarkable. You people do this all the time?
You put this together with the other disappearances that you've been hearing about people who were in locked rooms, people who were behind bars, and then they have been disappearing. There is a person that is missing in this room, and then there was one person that is dead. In all the other disappearances, there's not been someone who has been attacked. People have just gone missing. So this one seems to be, whatever's going on here is a lot different.
Winnie has a book open and has started transcribing what has happened. So we, of course, see anyone who looks over Winnie's shoulder, she is not writing in code and she is not trying to hide this from anyone. It starts off with the notes of the conversation, trying to transcribe it as closely as possible. And then it gets into some very specific details about what Theophania did and the magic and how it felt.
Yes, because you all heard, it was like Theo was speaking in like two different voices talking to themselves when their dagger was like placed in this body. And maybe there was some like, I don't know, like a green sort of glow sort of emitting from the dagger while this was happening. And then it all went away.
I can't believe that this is your everyday.
It's not every day. It's just when I meet a friend that has potentially very important or very good bones that I need to collect. It's not every day.
And are they always there on the other side? Do you get mixed messages, or are they gone sometimes?
Sometimes they're not always very friendly to me. Sometimes they can be rather grumpy with me, and in those cases they're not always super helpful. But I found that most of them just like knowing that somebody wants to remember them.
So remarkable magic. It has many uses, practicalities. And it gave us information on this case. I mean, we know so much now. I accept where whatever it is has gone since then. In my mind, the first stop is seeing to his roommate. There were two people in this room and one is missing. We either need to confirm he's a corpse or dissuade the idea that maybe he was the one who did it.
feel like that would make more sense, only because, say there's a creature that can squeeze itself under the door, okay. But what about this missing person?
Right. The corpse made no mention of Pete even being in the room or anything of that distinction.
He didn't, but I also didn't think to ask.
I will say that, like, maybe with the Theo, when you have these little like memories with like the dagger when you're like talking with them, I think when they're describing stuff, maybe you see visually like get little flashes of kind of like when they're describing stuff, because it's like their memories are kind of coming back. And I would say that like in his description, he like woke up, heard something at the door, like lit a little like candlestick next to his bed, and you could see across that Pete was in bed sleeping. It seemed to be like snoring very loudly, and then saw the thing, and then they got the candlestick and like attacked it. Light went out, they felt something, everything went black.
Well, I also had found something strange in the bed. Did anybody else see it? It's kind of a strange substance, even for me. I'm not sure I want to touch it.
Well, if you think it's strange, all right. And Winnie will snap her book closed, reholster it at her hip, the one that doesn't have a shield on it, and then will kind of clap her hands together, quiet her eyes, and then after a moment, when she opens them back up, they are glowing a bright gold. She has cast Detect Magic.
Ah, son of a bitch. Okay, interestingly enough, the two spots that you go both have the same two schools of magic. As you look at the blood, it's like you recognize the patterns and colors of necromancy and the pattern and colors of transmutation. And then you look over to the bed, and that has been broken in half as if something heavy was on it. And you like there's something underneath the blankets. There seems to be some sort of goo, and it might have leaked into the floor, or maybe in between the floorboards. But you sense that same two schools of magic coming from in between these floorboards. You might need to like pull the floorboards off or like wrench them apart to get at whatever this is. But it has like a weird, sticky, gross, slimy substance that's not like anything else you've seen in the room.
Well, I have some good news and some bad news. Vetra, could you give me a hand? And
Yeah.
Winnie starts to pick up the bed and then gestures towards the floor.
You go to pick up the bed, and it just kind of like falls apart. So you just like push it apart because it's been broken in half from like apparently strain of like a weight or something.
Does it look at all like does it look like weight, or does it look like acid? Like
I would say give me an investigation check. It's a pretty low DC.
15.
It's definitely from... You'd know this because you do this a lot as a barbarian. It looks like pretty much jumping on something, and like that weight, that sudden weight cracking it. So something that was very heavy jumped on it and broke. Or some sort of action, someone falling on it, something like that.
Gotcha.
But yeah, there is definitely some sort of weird goopy thing that has fallen in between these floorboards, and it's like kind of like there's like floorboards, and then there's like a thing that separates the levels, and then there'd be like a little ceiling boards because you're on the second level. But yeah, that's what you see.
Okay. Yeah, and then I mean, just without asking why, I'm just helping tear up these floorboards. Yeah.
Awesome. How are you doing that? Are you like just grabbing it? Are you using your axe to like pry it up, or I mean, are your sword? Describe this to me.
If I can just grab it, absolutely. But if I need to use like a little blade to kind of like wedge it in and get them up enough to at least get the first one out, and then just ripping the rest of them, as many as I need to.
You know what? Give me a strength or an athletics to see if you can just do it with your bare hands, and if not, then we'll just say you do it with your sword.
It's a 26.
Oh my god. So what is this badass display? I feel like you might even just do it one-handed. Like, what does this look like?
Yeah, I think just going down, looking at this, I just shove my elbow into, like, one side of one just to, like, crunch it in, and then just fish that out and just start just palming these floorboards and just kind of ripping them out of place.
They just fling them across the rooms, so the rest of you might have to, like, duck out of the way as these floorboards just boom, boom, boom. And you see beneath it, it looks like what sort of size would this be? Like, maybe like a cantaloupe style, small melon style size, red-looking slime thing. It's not like alive or moving or anything like that, but it looks like a weird slimy ball, and it's just there. And Winnie Chandler, you're with the detect magic still going. It has those same schools of magic coming off of it.
All right, so I don't know what that is, but I do plan to take it with us. It's radiating some sort of magic has different threads you can pluck at, or at least this is what I've been slowly learning over the last couple of years. And some of those threads are able to manipulate dead bodies and animate them to do as they will. And other threads have the ability to change the nature of things, which begins to paint an interesting picture based off of what was it, Mr. Corncob?
Cornhole.
Corn. Oh gosh, that's terrible.
It's
Mr. Cornhole. Yeah.
It's despicable.
Yeah. Starts to paint an interesting picture, not the whole thing certainly, but we're getting somewhere. And Winnie will pull a cloth out from her belongings, sort of in the part of her pack where she would keep whatever she needs to collect material components, and will go to pick up this red slime ball with the cloth.
Awesome. Yeah, I feel like it's big enough to kind of like wrap it around and kind of like tie it on the top, almost like it's like a bag, basically. You successfully do that. Nothing happens. It just feels kind of squishy and kind of gross. But yeah, perhaps someone a little bit more skilled might be able to know what this thing is, or who knows, it might be a completely new thing. Who knows? This is like very early days of magic in this world. So like everything is kind of new. Like the heroes, the generation right before you, are the first people that have ever used magic, and you guys are like the second generation. So it's like there's still things that might be out there, but who knows? So yeah, you get that.
If anyone wants to take a closer look, you're more than welcome to. If not, maybe when we settle in for the night, we can pick this thing apart.
I'm just interested in when it came into this room. It could have been something that Cuthbert had on his person. That's why he was targeted. Could be something that was left as refuse after everything that happened. Or it could have been the catalyst. Or even more so, maybe it was left for us to find. If we can find an origin to this thing, maybe it leads back to wherever it came from.
Is it a different color than you said this one's like a red goo?
Mm-hmm.
And then the other stuff was like a black substance? Yeah,
the black blood on the floor, I would say you guys can just extrapolate that it came from when Cornhole attacked the monster with the candlestick, and this other substance where Pete's bed is definitely different, but same style, same things of magic coming from both of them, but definitely different in color and like look.
So it's Pete's bed that was broken in, not Cuthbert's.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
Interesting.
Does the red stuff, is it just slime looking, or is there stuff in it? Like chunks of bone or anything like that.
Just looking at it really quick, it kind of looks. It looks like there might be like a liquid or something in it that's like sort of inert right now, or might like swirl sometimes or something like that. But it doesn't look like it's there's not like pieces of body or anything or resembling that in there.
And is this like solid in nature, or is this like tapioca pudding, like membrane?
I think solid, like I'm imagining it almost like an eyeball, but if there was just like a bunch of liquid inside of it, but it's see-through, so you can like it's like if a slime or an ooze creature was like see-through and just like a little ball rather than like a goop or like a cube or something. But it's not moving or running around or that kind of stuff. It's definitely a mystery.
Hope this isn't an egg.
Oh. You don't think?
I don't know. It looks clear though.
I've never seen anything like it in the city. Even in the investigations into the other missing people, we've never had two people, and we've never had anything left in the scene. At least not as far as I've been able to find.
Dole, give me just like an investigation, and I'll say that this is kind of like the info that you've learned being in the city for a while and like kind of passively looking into this stuff.
A 19.
Okay, cool. So I'd say that there's only been, because there's disappearances that happen all the time. That's just kind of generally how it is, kind of in medieval time stuffs. Not really people look into it, but these ones were, the weird because they were in these locked doors and blah, blah, blah. So then those started coming up. And the most recent ones within the past couple of weeks, one of them was like a veteran of the war. One of them was like a baker. And the other one was like a housewife. And due to the digging that you've done, you've found out that for some reason, all of these are veterans of the Great War that ended a year ago. And that seems to be a connecting factor. You don't know if Cornhole or Pete were veterans, but that seemed to be a connecting thread that you're finding in these people.
The only thing we noticed in the past, and I mean, it may be present here, we're not there yet, but it's all connected back to people who served during the war. In the past year, we've seen veterans go missing left and right in the city. And, wow, we never thought to think of a monster made of black ichor and red ooze, but we thought it was someone who was against the politics of the war.
That might still be true. I think I've seen everything I need to here. Maybe we follow that path out and keep trying to put some of these threads together.
Yeah.
It's starting to feel like something.
I agree. I think we should follow the blood where it leads, see if that goes anywhere, and as soon as that thread dies, we can look into Pete.
Okay. So, what is everyone doing?
Does anybody have a piece of cloth or a rag, some kind of water in a canteen? I'm kind of not fit to be seen by people on the street. Might cause a panic.
Right. And I think that Dull reaches in and he gives you like this embroidered, monogrammed handkerchief. He says, just keep it. I don't want it after.
Yeah, that's fair.
Cool. So where is everyone going? What is your next plan of action?
I think based off of Winnie's idea, I think it's a good idea to follow the trail that was leading outside the door from wherever this beast was bleeding. We're going to try and see how far that goes.
Okay. I would say it's not difficult to find because like there was a lot of black blood in the room, but when it goes under the door, it's kind of like little droplets. And there's not that many, but not that many people have come up and down. And you follow it to the front door, and when you open the door, the blood droplets just sort of stop.
Can I take a step out from the front door? And I'm sure I look bizarre, but I'm going to start like feeling my hands along the walls and see if maybe it went vertical.
I would say with that, without having to make a check, you do see a little bit of flecks of blood that kind of were flecked around the door and around like the little overhang of the door, as if something maybe, I don't know, went, like you said, went vertical.
Well, I think whatever it was, it took the Vigo approach. We'll start feeling for the overhang.
It doesn't seem to have been climbed on. It might have been something else. But unfortunately, the trail for where it went has gone cold there. And you see outside standing, there's Vigo and Sir Davith. They're standing very far away from each other, and Vigo's just kind of glaring at him. And Davith occasionally kind of gives a salty remark over his shoulder, and Vigo just looks very angry at it. But then you hear from inside someone walking from like inside from somewhere, and he's like, "Don't worry, I've got everything under control. Lockwood is here, never fear. Now, I did not see that there was any monsters in the basement, but I will say that wine was impeccable, Mrs. Mulmeyer." And you see this very haughtily dressed person walking around. Oh, you're pointing at her head. You know what? I think this is a good hat for this. Can you guys give me a couple of details about Nicodemus Lockwood, detective extraordinaire?
He's full of shit.
Oh, that's implied.
We could just start there. I think he dyes his hair.
He dyes his hair blonde, like
you can see the roots.
Curls.
He's trying to hide grays. Yeah.
I think it's like a long blonde though. Like he saw a romance novel and was like, "That's what I want to look like."
He's got like the total like Fabio cut. Yeah, down the shoulders.
Amazing.
He's ultra jacked, but only vanity muscles.
Yeah.
Like only vanity muscles. He maybe has like an actual strength of 8, but he has the appearance of being extremely jacked.
That's hilarious. I was imagining him like kind of pudgy, but I think this is hilarious. The opposite.
And I think whatever his weapon is, it definitely has to be named like Lizzie.
So he's coming out of the cellar. He has glass in his hand. And he says, "Yes, Mrs. Mulmeyer, it seems as everything is under control. Now to go off and find other clues. Look, there's a clue there. There's a clue over there. Who are these amateurs exiting your establishment, Mrs. Mulmeyer?" And she's like, "Oh, they're with the Knights of Nemeria. They're here to help." "Ah, amateurs. No doubt they have already ruined the scene of the crime."
Have you checked on have you actually checked on this? And Winnie will cast Minor Illusion, pulling some threads of magic around their fingers, kind of doing it behind her back so that this extraordinary detective can't see. And she's creating the illusion of blood drops, some blood down the stairs, but then it leads out of the establishment. Like it just very clearly leads out and away.
Amazing. He's like, Ah, yes, another clue. I saw it before you did. Do not worry, I'll put it in my next book. And he's like, out of my way, amateur. And he goes over and he's like, ah, yes, see, this is the first clue. Write this down, Lizzie. And you see a little book sort of like fly out and it's sort of like hovering next to him. And it has like a little quill attached. The book opens and the quill starts writing down. He's like, write this down. As the great Nicodemus Lockwood came from the wine cellar, he discovered a clue all by himself that led to the discovery of the monster. No doubt they were probably in the Undercroft. Yes, exactly. And he's just walking away. He's like, those people are freaks. He's just sort of talking to himself as he's walking out. And then you hear, as he leaves the establishment, you hear screams erupt of the fans that see him outside. Do you think any of you would have read novels for fun or anything like that in this world? Any detective novels?
I think Vetra definitely reads, but I think it's all nonfiction.
Okay.
And I also would like to note that, like, I would like to think that the last time he called us amateurs, like, Vetra took a step forward and somebody was like, no.
He probably took a step back as well and then kind of played it off when you did that. He's like, yes, there's a clue.
I think Dull is a reader, but he thinks that someone like Lockwood is just utter trash, just drivel.
Okay, you've probably seen some of his books then, or at least you know of them.
Because he's like a penny book writer of his own.
You would know, without having to do a history check, you know that he is known for solving, quote unquote, a bunch of mysteries around the Four Kingdoms and then writing about them in his retelling in his books. He's written 3 books so far, so he's gone to at least 3 of the Four Kingdoms and has solved a mystery in each of the kingdoms. There is Lockwood in the Wizard's Tombstone, there's Lockwood in the Chamber of Snakes, and then there's Lockwood in the Increasingly Dangerous Competition. Those are the 3 books that you know of. He's just walks off to his adoring crowd. And you see Vigo and everyone standing out there. Vigo probably walks up to the group, and he's just like, fucking idiot. So, what did you guys find?
Oh, nothing that Lockwood wasn't capable of himself, being the master detective. But we did find some information. Theo pulled some remarkable tricks, and we were able to ascertain what did this. We don't necessarily have a name for it yet, but we also know that he was staying with someone within the room, and they're missing as of now. We have a few leads, to say the least. And Winnie was very capable in retrieving, I don't even know what the fuck it is. Oh, and Miss Vikander just about tore half the room apart. She's very strong.
I definitely picked the right people. So, this is connected to the disappearances, you think?
I think so. I need to ascertain whether Cuthbert was a veteran or not, but I think they're connected. Theo, what did you say this being looked like? You had the best picture of it.
So it wasn't a person, it was a monster.
Yes, something that came from under the door, and I think that's how it got back out as well. I heard bones crunching and shifting, but I don't know if that was the creature or if that was the sound of the second man being dragged out of the room. I don't know. I only saw flashes. My recall is as bad as my memory.
Well, You see him kind of like, it looks like Vigo gets an idea, and he's like, well, interestingly enough, there is someone that might be able to help you, or who knows, might actually even be behind this. Someone that you three would be well acquainted with. He looks at the Knights of Nemeria. I'm talking about Krennic. And the three of you that are part of the Knights of Nemeria remember Krennic. They were an elf, and basically right after the war ended about a year ago, a couple maybe like weeks after, there was reports that like there was a bunch of monsters that were like taking over large swaths of land of countryside and kind of like establishing its own kind of like thing or territory. And pretty much they sent in you and other Knights of Nemeria, and you found out that it was this elf dude who was using magic to tame or help or influence these monsters to kind of grow their territory. And basically, you guys stopped him, not a big deal, and you gave him over to the heroes after you stopped him doing his stuff. And Vigo continues, apparently he's gone through the system and has been let loose. Word is he's staying in the city. So, if it's monsters, that might be the first place to look.
Do you know where he's staying?
Not particularly, no, but I'm sure there's word around. But might be the good place to start.
Perfect. I think we'll go pay Krennic a visit before we see to the rest of our leads.
Right.
He's been in the city for how long? These disappearances have been happening for a while. If we're going to pin it on Krennic, we have to have evidence that he's been here for nigh on a year.
Well, I guess that's something we'll have to find out. I just heard
You're a
rumors.
lot of help, aren't you, Vigo?
Well, my job is to protect the VIPs. Your job is to figure out what all this is and what's going on.
Right.
But if you need help, you can come by the Heroes Tower. And he sort of like gestures. And you know that in a couple of cities in the Four Kingdoms, the heroes have built, or specifically the magic heroes, have built little, like, kind of like wizard towers in, like, maybe like 2-3 cities. And it's basically like a little hub for if Knights of Nemeria or Heroes of the Great War are in the city, they can like stay there, do research, do like kind of like that kind of stuff. So he gestures towards that, and you can see it because it's the tallest tower in the city, so it's hard to miss. So he gestures towards that. He's like, if you need help, you could do some research there or something. It's one of Tom's towers. You know, Tom is the wizard hero. It's a very long name, but everyone calls him Tom. That might be helpful, and I'll be around if you need anything, and I'm sure you can ask Davith as well, but he is an idiot, so he might not be able to be as much help.
He'd just say something like, go check out the sewers to battle, and then he'd go drink or some shit.
Yeah.
So
He
I'm
probably
going to pass
wouldn't-
on that, but thanks.
He probably wouldn't say anything unless his god told him to do it. And then he kind of looks over at Davith, and Davith is like sharing a laugh with the guard captain. He's like, ugh.
Yeah, and Vetra's like, yeah, gotta listen to the gods.
Yeah, I'll listen to him when I'm dead. Well, before you go, I just want you all to know that whatever's going to happen whatever you're going to face in the next couple days. So I want you to be prepared for it. I don't know if it'll be connected to this, to the peace treaties, but if it is, you need to be prepared to make those hard decisions. The heroes, we've had to make them all. Sometimes it might even lead to people you didn't expect, maybe even friends getting in your way. I need you all to be prepared to do what it takes to make sure that this peace treaty can go forward.
Of course. I don't think that we'd be who we are if we weren't prepared.
He looks at the rest of you for confirmation.
I absolutely, definitely, of course, feel completely prepared.
Very convincing.
Thank you.
And Chandler and Vetra?
Vetra just says, "We'll handle it."
And you know me, I'll do what needs to be done. And hey, if you want to take your little pep talk and maybe stab Davith a little bit, make a hard choice to teach him a lesson or some shit, you have my blessing.
He has a devilish smile and looks over at Davith. He's like, I'll keep that in mind. And funny enough, you see Davith kind of coming over and he's like, well, I just wanted you all to know that, to all, you know what? Have a good time. Have fun. Fight some battles in the city while you're here. Why not? Yes, well, I'm off. I take the Griffin Riders. This is getting pretty boring. But yeah, if you need anything from us, I'll be north side, south, or with these VIPs. Which ones are we looking at, Vigo? And he's just like, I'll tell you again. And then he's just like, whatever. And they just kind of start to walk off as he's recounting what they're supposed to be doing to Davith a second time. Yeah, they walk away.
Then Vetra's just kind of like turning, and I think you just hear her just super quietly, "Bye, Davith." And that's it.
Yeah, your dad apparently was just lost in whatever it is that he's doing. He seems to have forgotten that his daughter is here.
No different than the rest of my life. It's fine.
Mm-hmm. So you are all standing outside of the Rusty Bell Inn and Tavern and have a lead for someone named Krennic that could be in the city. What do you all want to do?
Well, we have a few things we could chase down. I have some contacts in the city if we wanted to get the information on Krennic as soon as possible. But we could also go after Pete. We could also try and figure out what this blood or this orb is. The Wizard's Tower, I was thinking. A lot of directions we could go in, but I leave that in the hands of the Knights of Nemeria.
Personally, I think Krennic's our best option right now.
I agree. If we get stumped, we'll go to the tower, but I would be surprised if we find any books about whatever we're dealing with right now. This seems new.
You all seem to know this Krennic individual. Is there something that I should be let in on?
He kind of makes me seem normal.
Yeah.
Oh, good God. Okay, lovely. That is everything I needed to know. Thank you very much.
Actually, on that note, I think maybe we start, if I was looking for Krennic, I would be looking in like the local jail, see if he got himself into some trouble, got put away just a little bit, It's a good place to start. Or the like the most rat-filled alleyway you can think of. Probably also a good spot for Krennic.
Right.
Yeah.
I'd say Dull, you get... give me a history check real quick.
Okay. A 17.
As Winnie is mentioning possible places that this weirdo could be, you start to remember hearing about... you remember something that Nicodemus Lockwood said. He said the Undercroft. And you've heard that word before. Apparently, there is a part of the city where you hear a bunch of quote-unquote freaks go. And it's near the cemetery. And apparently there's a sewer near the cemetery where a bunch of weirdos congregate, maybe inside of the sewers or something like that, near that section of Daramede.
Well, I hesitate to advertise this, but I think your imaginary Davith may have been right about going into the sewers to fight something. There is a, how do I put it, a Theo part of town called the Undercroft. And at the center of this district are the most minority of the city, the dejected, the people that the city have forgotten. A lot of them refugees from the war itself that caught themselves underneath it all. I think that could be a good place to check for your Krennic. Where better to hide than in a place where no one goes to look?
That checks out to me.
Yeah, that actually seems really fun.
I thought you would enjoy it. We have to enter the sewers through a cemetery. I thought, well, you know, bones.
I'll do my best not to get distracted. I know we're on a mission. I don't want to disappoint Vigo.
We have all means of distraction here, and if we disappoint Uncle, that just means listening to him grumble more. We'll be fine. You do whatever it is you need to distract yourselves. If we solve the mission along the way, I think all the better.
All right, this is a lot of talking. Are we ready to go?
Yep.
Sure. Absolutely.
Amazing. So yeah, you all head out through the city, guided by Dull, as you go through the city streets, moving from district to district, and you finally go to the graveyard, and you actually see a couple people moving into this little sewer entrance where like the bars have been removed, and it's a well-trodden path as you descend into the sewers, opening up into this large underground like cavern of sewers and pipes and little shacks that have been built down here with an eerie green glow everywhere as all of these strange folk are going about and like trading goods and like markets, and there's a lot of hubbub, and little lizard folk people are running past your legs as they're running to go to other places. And I would say but quickly talking to just asking around where Krennic would be, it leads you to this big church type building, and the doors are wide open, and you see that it's called the Soul Sanctum, and inside it's rather clean, and there's a bunch of robed people that all have like the same haircuts. It's giving you a bit of an eerie vibe, and as you go in asking for Krennic, you see that someone sort of gestures towards the front of the church, and you see this elf looking very calm, has his like arms like this, or like crossed in front of him with like little robe things, and he says, "Ah, so we meet again."
It's not difficult living in the shadow of a hero. It's actually quite easy. The hard part is stepping out and seeing how small your shadow is in comparison.